CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
What do you know about dyslexia?
Sex what?
What is dyslexia?
I have no idea.
It is a learning difference.
I know it's enriched my life. I know that it is a very special brain that gives you that abstract thought pattern.
It just means that you're able to look at things a little bit different.
Learning difference? I like that. That's great. I think a lot more people would be apt to recognize it in their kids if it's called a learning difference.
You may have seen last year's short film Dyslexia, the movie. Those living with a learning disability say awareness is key in getting them the help that they need. Good morning to you. I'm Adam Murphy, consumer investigative reporter for CBS 46. Research proves that 1 in 5 people have some degree of dyslexia, the most common learning disability. Joining me this half hour on the program is somebody that knows all about it. Thank you. It is Paul West, the Assistant Director of Special Education for Scythe County. How are you today?
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
And thank you for being on the program. First, what is dyslexia?
Dyslexia is a neurologically based learning disability. It's language-based, and within this diagnosis, it impacts reading. It impacts the student's ability or an adult's ability to express themselves through written expression. And so it's quite complicated because it's something that's invisible, that you can't see. It's how somebody takes in information, uses information, and processes information.
So working in special education in Forsyth County, how do you help children?
What we do is we take what we call in education a multi-tiered approach. What that means is that we look at the student, how they're performing in school, and where they seem to be struggling. A student with a learning disability also has many strengths as well as deficit areas. And so what we tend to do at the schools is we want to teach to the student's strength, the content, the standards, and then create a remediation plan for the deficit areas. And so that can look like at the very early stages, whereas the teacher will just differentiate. The teacher will try a number of different strategies in the classroom. If that doesn't work, then we move toward a little bit more of a formalized plan. In many school systems, it's called an individualized support team plan. And what it is the parent and the teacher come together, and we talk about the strengths and the areas of deficit with the student, what we're seeing in the classroom, what are some of the things that we've tried, and what's it like at home? How's homework being completed? How is the student at the end of the day? If that isn't successful, we move to then what we call a student support team plan. Here, this is where a student, it's a written plan, it's a little more formalized, and we're targeting specific interventions. We're looking at creating a goal. So if a student is having difficulty in reading, is it in fluency, the rate, is it with decoding, are they having trouble with forming words, is it with comprehension, that they don't understand what they've read? And based on that, what we will do is we'll create goals, and then we'll create a way to monitor progress and then implement our interventions. And if the student is achieving and making progress, then we come back and we will determine, do we need to continue? Or if a student is not making the progress that we expect, we would move then toward looking at specialized instruction. And in specialized instruction is, when we look at it, we're looking at the need for special education. Based on everything that we've done, based on the data, do we need to do a formal evaluation of the student, a psychological evaluation, whereas a school psychologist or an outside psychologist will create a real in-depth learning profile for this student, how the student receives information auditorily, visually, tactily with their hands. Then we look at, with the student and their working memory, how does that information get stored, get retrieved, get used? And then based on that, how does that impact a student's ability to read? How does that impact a student's ability to spell or write? how does that impact the student's ability to process math applications and math computation? So it's interwoven, and in the public school systems, we call it as a process response to intervention. It's an acronym called RTI, which a lot of people may misunderstand it as that is a program. It's actually just a process, whereas we look at from the very basic that I mentioned, that differentiated instruction, that's tier 1 in our educational world. That individual support plan is tier 2 in the educational world. The student support plan, which is that written plan where we create a goal and intervention, that is tier 3. And then specialized instruction in Georgia, that is tier 4, all part of this pyramid of intervention that in what we call in public school.
So we have about a minute here, and I understand you mentioned something about a 504 accommodation plan. What is that?
A 504 accommodation plan is an accommodation plan that the school creates in conjunction with the parent and everybody that works with the student. There is a medical or physical impairment that has been identified, and in this case, for dyslexia, that is the medical diagnosis. And so at the school system, what we will do to create this accommodation plan is look at all the information we have available from the parent, from the classroom, medical evaluation from a psychologist, and we determine based on that what accommodations, such as extended time, such as how our student responds to, organizes information, what accommodations are required for the student to have equal access. It's part of a federal equal access law, and since public schools or public institutions accept federal money, we're obligated to have this meeting and to look at what a student needs.
Thank you so much. You just had some great information that you shared right there. And moments ago, we actually put up a website and a phone number. I presume if people need more information from you, they can easily find that, and that'll be something you guys can help them with, right? Any questions? And there it is right there, as you see. PA West, right, at forsyth.k12.ga.us. And the phone number is 770-887-2461 if anyone has questions.
Exactly. Building that relationship with, whether it's a public school or private school, with the teacher and with the leadership is critical, because the teacher is on the front line with the with your students. And at the district level, we have reading specialists, assistive technology specialists. We have people there that are to support the whole team. So parents, please don't be afraid to ask your teacher, ask the school for help, because that's why we're here.
Paul West, thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your information. Now, when we come back, some great tips for overcoming dyslexia, how some professionals are helping students turn it around. Come back. Public Affairs on Peach is back after this break.